This video is brought to you by SoccerPro.com. Be sure to visit SoccerPro.com for all the latest soccer gear at everyday low prices with no membership fees. Don't forget to use coupon code SR4U at checkout for $10 off a $75 purchase, plus free shipping within the US. Hey guys, Josh from SoccerReviewsForYou.com, bringing you a comparison video between the Adidas Predator LZ and the Nike CTR360 Maestri 3. These are both brand new releases from Nike and Adidas, and both feature these unique kind of control elements that we're seeing more and more of on modern soccer shoes. And I'm sure we're going to keep continuing to see more. And they do make sense, and they add somewhat of a legitimacy as far as technology and soccer shoes go. But at the end of the day, I still don't feel like a shoe is going to help you improve any type of skill, whether it be touch, shooting, running faster. Is really up to the player and not determined by your shoes. So definitely keep that in mind when looking at these two particular shoes. Also, if you're looking for the real true details as far as how these two shoes feel, fit, perform, sizing, all of that will be in the full written review for both of these shoes, which are located on my website. They're both already up. The CTR360 Maestri 3 review just went up, so if you do want to check that out, there'll be a link in the description. And like I said, if you really want the details, you're going to find them there. As well as on these review pages, you're going to find the high definition pictures of these two shoes, which will give you a better idea of how these shoes actually do look in person, as opposed to the stock photos, which don't always do a great job of displaying the true nature of these shoes. Also, you're going to find buy it now links with the exclusive coupon codes for SR4U viewers, which are going to allow you to get the best prices online for these new releases, which is always it's always good to save a little bit of money. So if you are looking to purchase these two shoes, I recommend you check out those links. Again, the links to both of the reviews will be in the description of this video. But as far as comparing these two shoes, I want to keep this a little bit shorter than I normally do the comparison, simply because I just find that they tend to drag on a little bit longer than they need to. But both of these shoes feature synthetic leather uppers. I'll start with the Predator LZ. Kind of caused a little bit of controversy when it was released, simply because this is the first Predator to not be released in a natural leather upper, not even as an option. So if you want a Predator, one of the new Predators, it has to be in this new synthetic leather material. And what they call it synthetic leather, but I wouldn't call it a leather feeling shoe by any means. The synthetic itself doesn't have that natural padding of actual leather like the Kangalite does, but what it does provide is pretty good softness like a leather would, and also has really nice flexibility to it. So it's really soft on your foot, really comfortable to wear, and overall it's the upper material on this particular shoe is not really going to determine the overall feel of the shoe. The feel of the shoe is going to be mainly determined by these lethal zones all over the shoe, which is pretty much these rubber pads located all across the front, the forefoot, the side, the top, all over the shoe, and that's really going to determine the overall feel of the shoe, which I'll get to a little bit later. But overall, it's a good synthetic from Adidas, probably my favorite synthetic from Adidas. I like it a little bit more even than the Sprint Skin on the Adi Zero, simply because it's a little bit softer, a little bit more comfortable. But as far as the new CTR, this features the Kangalite 2.0, which is also synthetic, guys. Keep in mind, Kangalite is not a kangaroo leather. It's not a natural material by any means. I get so many messages saying, how do I care for my Kangalite shoes? You don't. It's a synthetic material. The reason it's called Kangalite is to kind of almost not necessarily mislead you, but kind of to say that it feels like kangaroo leather. It's Kangalite. It's a synthetic material. Like I said, no maintenance required. But what's so great about this and what made the ZTR so popular in the first place was this Kangalite material. And this is the Kangalite 2.0. So basically the difference is it's a little bit softer, a little bit thinner, and has much more of that natural padding that a real leather would have, which I really, really like. It makes it, this is the truest, kind of the closest rendition of a synthetic leather that actually does feel very, very close to kangaroo leather. And for that reason, I really, really like this shoe. If you read the full written review of this shoe already, you know my thoughts on it. I really am a big fan of the overall feel of the synthetic. It's super close to kangaroo leather, like I said, and with the added benefits of a synthetic being a little bit lighter, not as much water retention. It's not gonna stretch very much, so it's gonna hold its shape a little bit better. It also dries out much quicker, so it's really, really nice to have these kind of extra features. Also, not even including that synthetic leathers require no maintenance at all. Any kind of synthetic material, you don't have to apply leather cream. You really don't have to worry about it being super clean, because it's not gonna really dry out or anything like that. So keep that in mind when looking at a Kangalite shoe, especially if you're gonna be playing in the wet a lot. It would be a little bit better to have a synthetic as opposed to a leather, simply because it's a little bit lower maintenance, and the overall longevity of the shoe is going to be a little bit better as well. As far as the feel of both of these two shoes, the main feel around the Predator LZ is definitely about grip. With all these rubber elements on here that labeled the lethal zones, you have 4 lethal zones, which are rubber, and then this one pad on the inside. The touch on these shoes is very, very unique, and one that is really a love or hate thing. It's not something that anybody is going to like. I'm personally not a big fan of having a lot of grip on shoes. I've never ever been a fan of having rubber elements on the shoe. And when I first tried this shoe on and started playing with it, I was really not impressed. I wasn't happy with it. And it really took some getting used to until I realized that, hey, this is not so bad. I don't really mind this at the end of the day. But like I said, if you're one of those people that really doesn't like a lot of grip on your shoe, if you don't like that sticky feeling against the ball, the Predator LZ is not from you. Don't definitely stay away from this shoe if that's something that you dislike, is having a lot of grip. But if you're open to trying new things, or you do like having these rubber elements on your shoe, the Predator LZ might be one to try out. Basically, I'm not going to go over the lethal zones themselves. I've talked about it plenty of times. I'll leave an annotation to the unboxing video for this particular color if you do want to check that out. See me talk about the lethal zones a little bit more closely. But basically the main thing on here that's going to determine the overall feel of the shoe is this one right here, which is called the sweet spot. This is really one of the most common places on the foot where you're going to be touching the ball, and this is a very, very abrasive strip of rubber, and it's really going to provide extra grip on the ball that you wouldn't normally have without this particular rubber strip. And to me, this really determines whether or not you're going to like this shoe. Dribbling seems to be a little bit different. You also have this little extra pad on the outside for dribbling, this little part on the front here for touch, obviously your striking element, and then of course this little inside pad here, which is kind of this memory foam insert in the shoe, which adds this little bit of extra padding. Probably my favorite part of the shoe, and again, it just kind of gives the shoe more of that natural leather feel, which I really, really liked. But like I said, the overall feel, if you really want that extra grip, if you want to see me talk about all the extra lethal zones, go ahead and check out the full written review, guys. I go into detail on every single zone. But at the end of the day, if you're not a fan of grip, you probably won't be a fan of the LZ. But if you're open to trying new things, the LZ might be one to look at, because you probably may or may not like it. It's one of those things you just have to try it to really have a sense of how it feels and if you are going to like it. But as far as the CTR360 Maestri 3 is concerned, I'm a really, really big fan of the touch on this particular shoe. You can notice on the back here it features the All Conditions Control coating, which is a brand new thing from Nike. And basically the concept behind the CTR360 Maestri 3 was to provide a coating on the shoe that is going to basically determine the amount of grip you have on the ball in dry and wet conditions, where the concept is to have the same feel on the ball in dry as well as wet conditions. So what this coating does is it adds this little bit of texture on the ball. When you rub your hands against the shoe, you really don't feel anything. There's no visual coating that you can see, but when you first touch the ball, especially I've noticed on kind of the more dimpled, the match balls, there's somewhat of this little bit of a textured grip to the ball against your shoe, which threw me off a little bit when I first tried it on, and I honestly wasn't a big fan of it. But I noticed that it seemed to wear away a little bit with as I had more time in the shoes, and I don't know if it wore away or I just kind of got used to it, but not something that bothered me after, again, like I said, after about half an hour or so. But as far as how it works in dry conditions, it's great. There's a little bit more grip than you would normally get from a standard leather, but it's not something that you get used to and goes away almost immediately. But as far as how the shoe performs in wet conditions, I have tried it out, and I can't say that it's a huge difference to just having no coating. It's a very minor difference, if anything. It may provide that little bit of extra grip, but I don't think that anything's going to compensate for wet conditions better than just a straight rubber element would. So as far as in the wet goes, I think if you want the best possible grip in wet conditions, having a lot of rubber on the shoe is definitely going to be the best, simply because it's still going to provide that grip no matter what kind of if it's wet or not. So like I said, if you're really looking for the best possible wet condition shoe, a shoe like the Predator LZ, a shoe like the T90 Laser 4 is going to be the best for that. But like I said, the all conditions coating, I wouldn't take too much from it, but it definitely does add a certain feel to the particular shoe. You're also going to notice that they ditched the dampening pads that were featured on the CTR 1 and 2, and they've replaced it with this kind of dimpled material here. And again, it's to provide more of an abrasive feel against the ball, provide that little bit of extra grip. And I'm not sure if that works or not. It's not something that you're going to really notice. It's hard to say that just little dimples in the shoe are going to kind of change the overall feel. But overall, guys, I am a really, really big fan of the shoe. The leather, the Kangalite material is fantastic feeling and really, really won me over. You're also going to notice that there's a fully redesigned pass pad on the inside here. It spans this whole instep of the shoe. Very, very abrasive rubber. You can see there's these little nubs on the on the actual outside ones, and then they kind of decrease in size until they actually disappear towards the middle and then start back up again as they go to the outside. And what that is trying to create that kind of perfect spot for the ball, which again, it's kind of a gimmicky thing, but it does add a certain feel to the ball. It gives the instep of the foot somewhat of a solidness, as well as a little bit of extra grip. And when you strike the ball, you happen to be able to catch these kind of two extra, these little rubber pads here, which adds a little bit of extra grip that you wouldn't normally have if they weren't there. Again, the Predator LZ is going to offer something similar to that as well, but definitely keep that in mind. Overall, if I had to pick a favorite in terms of touch, it has to be the CTR. I really, really am a big fan of how the shoe feels. And next thing is sizing. As far as sizing goes, the Predator LZ seems to fit true to sizes. Neither of these shoes are overly wide shoes, so if you have extremely wide feet, probably neither of these shoes are going to be for you. But if you don't have exceptionally wide feet and pretty much all the way down to narrow feet, you're going to be good in both of these shoes. Again, the Predator LZ fits true to size, with the CTR360 Maestri 3 seems to fit about a half size small, even from the rest of the Nike line. So where I would normally wear a size 9, I needed a 9.5 in the CTR360 Maestri 3. Again, more information on the sizing and the widths of the shoe are in the full written review, so go and check those out if that does interest you. As far as sole plates and stud pattern goes, the Predator LZ uses a plate on the sprint frame, a little bit thicker plastic, a little bit more flexible, but the exact same stud pattern as the Adi Zeros and the 11 Pros pretty much. 11 Pros is a little bit different, but it's exactly the same as the Adi Zero. And you have these triangular studs, only 3 on outside, so it's not an ideal stud pattern to have for hard ground surfaces, but it's something that's going to perform really, really well on firm ground, as well as even a little bit softer ground, simply because the studs are a little bit longer. But keep in mind, on harder surfaces, it may not be the most stable simply because you don't have too many studs under your feet. But as far as the overall feel of the stud pattern, you have triangular studs, so it's more along the lines of a conical stud pattern rather than anything. But overall, it's going to provide pretty decent grip. You're not going to have any issues with slipping or anything like that. A lot of people are a big fan of this. This is why Adidas is kind of putting it into all of their shoe lines. But that's pretty much it. Also, keep in mind, this is MyCoach compatible. So if you have the MyCoach chip, you can slot that into the Predator LZ, as well as all of the other top-end shoes from Adidas, and track your stats if that does interest you. As far as the CTR360 Maestri 3, you have this brand new plastic sole plate from Nike. You're going to notice that's a little bit thinner than you would normally get from your standard Nike sole plate. A lot of the issues that I had with the past CTR is the sole plate. It seemed to get a little bit soft, but this harder plastic is really, really nice. It's nice and responsive. It gives the shoe this really nice rigidity and cuts out all kinds of stud pressure. Also, because the sole plate's a little bit thinner, you seem to sit a little bit closer to the ground, which makes for a very stable feel, which I really, really liked. And plenty of stiffness to the sole plate, like I said, which is great for running. It's great for shooting. I really, really am a big fan of this. A lot of people who were disappointed that they kind of ditched the carbon fiber sole plate. This offers a very, very similar feel, in my opinion. As far as the new sole plate and stud pattern goes, the stud pattern is not too far off from the Legends in terms of feel, but a little bit unique. You can notice that all the studs on the outside here are pretty much these small bladed studs, where the studs on the inside are kind of these half moon shapes. You see, they're all rounded towards the outside edge, and the reason for that is when you're actually kind of planting your foot and pushing off to accelerate, the little bit of having that conical stud here is going to allow you to kind of release from the ground a little bit quicker than a bladed stud, where having the blades on the outside allow you for that more solid plant and push off. You're not going to need that rotation from the outside, so it's kind of cool. There's a little bit of science behind this particular stud pattern, and overall I feel that it performs really well. It feels more like a conical stud pattern, even though they are bladed. The blades are really small. They kind of penetrate really nicely into the ground, but the overall feel is very similar to the Tiempo Legend stud pattern, which is honestly one of my personal favorites, and I'm a big fan of this new stud pattern from Nike, as well as the sole plate. It's really, really great. As far as weight goes, both of these shoes are definitely no slouches. They really, really kind of are taking into consideration, all of these companies, that lightweight shoes are getting more and more popular, and people want this weight shed on their soccer shoes. The listed weight for the Predator LZ is, I believe, 8.2 ounces, where the actual listed weight for the CTR360 Maestri 3 is 8.4 ounces. A lot of websites have it listed as the wrong weight, but the actual listed weight is 8.4 ounces, which is significantly lighter than the previous CTR, actually a full 2 ounces, and the shoe really does feel light in your hands. It's the first thing I noticed when I first picked it up, and again, that anytime you're around that 8 ounce mark, that's extremely light. That's pretty much borderline for a what could be considered a speed boot. So to have all of this extra bulk, all of this extra protection on the shoe while still maintaining that ultralight weight is really, really impressive to me. Like I said, the listed weight for the Adidas Predator LZ is 8.2 ounces, so I'll throw it on the scale here. Keep in mind this is a brand new pair where the CTR is a used pair, and it weighs in at 8.4 ounces, so again, pretty light, 0.2 ounces above the listed weight, but that's really not a huge thing. 0.2 ounces is definitely not something you're going to notice on your feet at all. But as far as the CTR goes, I'll weigh it here again in real time. Keep in mind this is a used pair, and that weighs in at 8.4 ounces as well, so they actually weigh exactly the same. And Predator LZ, the CTR weighs exactly what the listed weight says, and overall, I'm just really impressed by both of these two shoes. They offered kind of completely new takes on stuff. The Predator is totally one of the most unique shoes on the market right now, and while it may not be for everyone, I like that it kind of strives to be very, very different from what's currently out on the market. And like I said, if you're a big fan of grip, or you're playing frequently in wet conditions, the Predator LZ may be one to try out, simply because you may like it. It's going to provide, like I said, that extra grip. If you really are a big fan of like curling the ball or anything like that, having that little bit of additional grip, it may make a little bit of a difference for you, and it's something that you are probably going to like. But if you're more of a fan of more traditional style leather shoes, even if you're currently wearing a Legend or something like a Puma King Finale, trying out a CTR would definitely not be a bad idea. The new Kangalite 2.0 is fantastic. It's really, really soft. It's the closest thing to natural leather you can get from any synthetic. And like I said, no maintenance. It's very, very light. The fit is fantastic, and I just am a big fan of the shoe overall. I really like this new sole plate. I really like the new stud pattern. Like I said, if you've read the full review, guys, I'm really a big fan of the CTR. If I have to pick a favorite here, it just has to be the CTR. I'm really happy with the overall design of it. They kind of took a big chance in redesigning both of these shoes, and I think Nike and Adidas were both successful in creating a shoe that is very, very different from the previous model, but still offers something that's completely unique that we've never seen before, and at the end of the day is still a good feel. But that's pretty much it, guys. Like I said, if you want to check out the full reviews, both of those links will be in the description, guys. Any comments down below of other comparison videos you do want to see, try and keep the shoes related to each other, and I'll try to make those comparison videos to you. And go ahead and check out the Facebook page if you have any questions not related to the video. That link will be in the description. As always, guys, thanks for watching.